So, I mean, the question now remains is like, will Mueller show up? And apparently the judiciary is talking to him. I mean, this is how obvious the Bill Barr's sort of, I guess, sort of obstruction himself in terms of hiding the report from the country and allowing it to be interpreted, because everybody knows, like, I mean, I don't even know if anybody in this office has read the full report yet. And if that hasn't happened yet, then I'm quite sure the percentage of Americans who have actually read the full report is rather small. But here is Chris Wallace basically chastising people on Fox News, his own network, saying, like, seriously, guys, I mean, come on. Mueller is clearly not happy with Barr.
I know there's some people who don't think that this March 27th letter is a big deal. And, some opinion people who appear on this network who may be pushing a political agenda. But, we have to deal in facts. And the fact is that this letter from the special counsel, and it was one of at least 3 contacts with the Attorney General between March 25th and March 27th, was a clear indication that the Attorney General was upset, very upset, with the letter that had been sent out by the Attorney General and wanted it changed, or wanted at least added to, and the Attorney General refused to do so. He felt the Attorney General's letter was inaccurate. He says in the conversation he was talking about media coverage. That's not what he said in the letter. What he says in the letter is you didn't reflect what we found in the report. And there are a lot of people, having read now the full report, or as much as it has been not redacted, agree that he didn't reveal what was fully in the report. Again, those aren't opinions. That's not a political agenda. Those are the facts.
And so, I mean, that's Chris Wallace. And so Barr has shown this sort of expertise at this stuff, both from a lawyering standpoint, but also from, he understands the power he has as the Attorney General, particularly with a party now. We're 30 years out from when he did this with H.W. Bush, but the Republican Party has absolutely zero shame. I don't know how much they had back then. Maybe it was 5%. I don't know. Maybe it was 10%. But we're down at 0 now. And the real question is like, what are the Democrats going to do about it, right? Because, I mean, this is the problem. We have Nancy Pelosi getting up there saying he lied. But we're not going to impeach. We're not going to impeach Trump. We're not going to impeach. I don't know if she said it about Barr, and in fact, not only do we think impeachment's actually too good for Donald Trump, but what's not too good is we're going to sit down and we're going to negotiate attempt to negotiate a infrastructure bill. Like, the messaging here is so muddled. I just don't understand. Like, what is the theory here?
I don't think there is one. Honestly, I don't. I mean, they have this reflexive sort of response that we have to do the nation's business. We can't be seen to be, overreaching and doing all these things. I just, this is just it's a holdover from a different time. And this is one of those situations where you can really see the generational problem here. People who fought too many wars in the past and learning the wrong lessons from it. And I honestly don't think there is a plan. Part of it is, and let's acknowledge, when you say that they have no shame, shamelessness is very, very powerful. It means that you can't use anything like that. You can't actually, humiliation, shame, any of those kinds of tools, which normally in politics are very powerful tools. They don't have it, so you're kind of left with just purely using brute power.
Right.
You can't use it by trying to get people to turn on them, because let's face facts. It's not just the politicians who have no shame; it's their voters
exactly.
too. They don't care. Look, it's the evangelicals support Trump more than any other president in their lifetime. I mean, they love him. So this is a shameless sort of faction in our culture. And at least political culture, and they don't have that tool in their toolbox, which to me means you have to use the brute power that you have. And I'm for impeachment. I think they should do it based upon the Mueller report. I don't think they have to wait any longer. There are dozens of other things they can bring into it. But once they get impeachment on the table, then the fight is clarified. It's real. It's not, putting up, eating fried chicken as they did at the Judiciary Committee and putting up an empty chair and those kind of stunts. Forget it. I mean, that means nothing to Republicans. They think it's stupid, and so do Democrats who are watching it are going, what is this? We have somebody who we think is a threat to the nation, who actually, colluded with a foreign government and is a criminal by all, normal standards. If you look at that Mueller report in the White House and you're, pulling stunts to try and get somebody to come up and testify, it's ridiculous.
And I would say like this, the refusal to show up, the ignoring subpoenas, the failure to provide information for oversight, this is all equally in some respects, if not more so, damaging, right? Because now you're not just attacking now you're not just doing bad things, you're attacking the mechanisms in which bad things are supposed to be accounted for. And I don't care who it's going to be is the next president, or the president after that, or the president after that, or the president after that. If this notion that subpoenas from Congress are meaningless takes hold, if it's allowed to stand, to the extent that, that we've seen anything that is authoritarian-ish in the context of the Trump administration, this is it, right?
Yep.
This is we're almost like in Star Wars territory here, where it's like the Senate just says like, oh, all right, well, what can we do? It's that type of like, this is how it would happen, where essentially the legislative branch loses all its powers by giving it up, by essentially just ceding.
It's a constitutional crisis is what it is. I mean, that is we say that all the time, but that's the real thing. I mean, this is a challenge, an assault on the separation of powers. And Trump taking it even one step further than that. He's saying, he tells people openly that he has the Supreme Court of the United States in his pocket. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look what happened in 2000. When it came down to it, you saw what a partisan Supreme Court majority would do, right? I mean, they installed George W. Bush into the White House. And that was a totally partisan decision. They even said that you can't ever use this decision again in any other case. So would they do it? Yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely a possibility. I'm not resting my hopes on the court to bail us out of this.
I don't think that we're in a constitutional crisis. I think the Democrats are afraid. This is a game of chicken. And I think they are afraid of doing what they have to do because they're afraid of a constitutional crisis. And so, because the constitutional crisis comes when they send the sergeant at arms to go arrest Bill Barr.
Right.
And Bill Barr locks his door and has his, the Capitol Police that are protecting him or whatnot stop the sergeant at arms. That's where the constitutional crisis happens. And I think like the Democrats do not have the stomach for that. And so what's happening is they're ceding. Like the crisis is over and the Constitution is lost. That's basically what they're ceding this stuff. And I think it's extremely dangerous. And I'm not convinced of the political efficacy of it. I'm
not either. I think it's the opposite, don't you?
I
they look weak. They look weak. They look like, I hate to get psychological, but if you're a voter, we know that the Democrats, the base of the Democratic Party is not going to vote for Donald Trump, and they're not going to vote for the Republicans who participate in this. But there's a whole bunch of people. That may not be a majority. It could not to mention the fact that the Republicans cheat. And here you have this group of, basic weak sisters sitting there. They've got a report in their hands that says the president is a criminal. It says it right there. They don't need to actually investigate. It's been investigated. They have the bill of indictment right in front of them. They could impeach the president tomorrow on obstruction of justice. It's right there. Now, would they convict him? Probably not. The Senate, is full of a bunch of, partisan, miscreants who probably would not vote to convict him. So what? they would have shown that they were willing to take action, use the power that they have, and who knows, maybe there'd be some people in the country who would see this for what it is, which is, at least the Congress standing up for its own prerogatives, and the Democrats having, as you put it, the guts to actually fight back. I mean, it looks like right now that they're just sort of flailing around, waving papers in the air and doing this. I mean, there have been some moments that have been effective. I thought Kamala Harris's, her interrogation.
But that has to lead to something. It has to lead to something. It has to lead to something. And here's the thing: is that this is, we have a presidential election. The candidates can go out and offer alternative visions of what the Democrats will do in the future. But there are Democrats who are in power right now, who have some measure of power. They must exercise that power. The candidates can go out and make their arguments and say, this is for the House is dealing. I mean, it's sort of perfectly situated because we don't have many House candidates, how many House, serious candidates running who are from the House. So all the senators can say, like, this is what's happening in the House. When it comes to us, we'll, make that determination. Right now, I'm looking towards the future. I mean, it's so easy to do this now. And my only hesitation about actually voting on the impeachment is that, like, I don't know if you get a second bite of the apple. If God God help us, Donald Trump wins again in 2020. I don't know what the Democrats do in 2021, but if they don't have the Senate, then maybe it doesn't make that much of a difference. But regardless, what's fascinating to me is that, and we're running out of time here. We're going way long, but and we had other things to talk about. But I noticed, Josh Marshall. Got into exchange. I just noticed it because it was with a buddy of mine, and got into just a brief, one or two tweet exchange about like there's no point in impeaching them if they know that it's not going to pass in the Senate, which I think is the absolute. I think maybe you have an argument again, like I say, like you're using that arrow and you don't have it in your quiver in 2021 is like sort of the full on double, triple break the glass emergency thing. But put that aside for a moment. Josh Marshall's the one who used to espouse and I think even coined the phrase the bitch slap theory.
Right.
And we're literally, this is the bitch slap theory. And Bill Barr is up there bitch slapping the Democrats, and they've got to push back because and not just by not answering his questions, but by not showing up. Because there's a whole other slew of other things that they should bring into this. Bill Barr's not going to show up. We want to know where he gets off attacking the ACA. We want to know where he gets off basically shipping immigrants, migrants, would-be asylum seekers who have medical conditions or, issues back to Mexico. I mean, there's a whole host of things they should be talking about. And at the very least, they should be going after these people for attacking not the norms, but the constitutional procedures and laws.
Right. Right. I mean, that's the very basic thing that we can expect from them. And, I don't know if it's going to happen, Sam. I really don't. But I'm starting to feel a little depressed about it because I kind of assumed that with this kind of bitch slap politics happening, that the Democrats would they'd have too much, they'd have some pride and they wouldn't allow it to just go on. But I am really not sure. I mean, watching the performance, it seems like a lot of hand waving and not a lot of action. They have to use the crude political constitutional power that they have. Shaming and stunts are not going to get the job done.
This feels so much like 2003 to me. It's making me nauseous.
Oh, God, me too.